I know by now you must have realized one thing. There is a massive failure of Kenyan businesses. And you always ask yourself, like, okay, fine. Is it because of choice of a location? Is it because maybe the business wasn't appropriate for the location? Or maybe there is no, or maybe economy has collapsed. But let me tell you one thing. Most of the reasons why you find that Kenyan businesses usually fail is because of what you call massive copying. They copy each other. And let me tell you one secret, and you can see it around. Whenever you realize somebody comes up with a new idea, maybe let's say it wasn't out there, I do not know where people get money. I don't know whether they take loans or what do they do. And then you realize there is a flock of that given business out there. Be it the cab business, be it any unique business, you find people. For example, let's say there was nothing like smocha, and somebody thinks and comes up with a smocha business and then immediately goes to the town somewhere, sets aside, and then he starts selling smocha. And then the next minute, by the time you realize there is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people selling the same thing, probably from the same location and all those kind of things. Now, those are the things, or those are the sites that I usually call them the Me Too thing. You know why? These guys, they don't want to do the research. They just say, hey, this dude is making a lot of money. And I think I should be in the same business actually. And then you realize there is no creativity involved, there is now research involved and all those kind of things because people copy each other a lot. And in the process, you get into yourself into a business. You do not understand the business. You do not even know what these guys do for them to actually realize those massive profits as they are perceived to do. And then you get into a thing and then you lost. I have an example of a certain guy used to be a teacher and then he realized hardware actually works better. And he decided to start a hardware. What he did, he never wanted to consult from people. What he did, he went ahead with the savings and started a hardware. Little did he know that for you to operate a hardware in Kenya, obviously, you know, you have to have yourself a very good number of fundis by your side. Those guys who can actually buy from you. It's actually a sort of, I don't want to use the term cult, but it's sort of a thing that, you know, you have to amass your group somewhere. You know, you have to have a flocking system and all those kind of things. So the guy got into the business and then he opened the hardware, probably like double of what the neighbor had. And there he was waiting for the customers. And you can just imagine how it turned out to be. Before actually people know you, relate with you and all those kind of things, you realize like, hey, you don't even know where these guys are getting their materials because you don't want to ask them because obviously they will feel threatened. So what do? You go maybe let's say to higher industrial areas of any given towns of our country, be it either Nairobi, Nakuru, Mombasa, or whatever the place, and then you inquire on areas where you are so perceived like, hey, this might be the area where they usually get their raw materials or the materials to sell. And then you grab those materials and you start selling. One thing, you have not worked on the advertisement. You've not worked on the personnel. You've not worked on the, you know, putting yourself out there. You don't even know the customer service because you've never been to business. This is the first time you're getting to business and all those kind of things. So the whole reason as to why you are into this business is because excuse me, is because like you do love to get money as well and you're so greed into that. And then by the time you realize things are not going as they are supposed to be, you know, give up, you've lost your money. Or if it works, then what you've done is actually you've increased the competition. For example, there is a certain cab that existed in certain town. I won't name the cab and I won't name the town because you guys will know it. And then by the next minute, we realized there were flocking of those cabs to a point right now where we are, they got no jobs. You know why? They have flooded. They have saturated the market. And of course, what you should know in Kenya is that a capitalist country. Nobody can question you whatever you want to do with your property. So the point is this, they got into the business, they saturated the market. We have like say more cabs, more than we do have the clients or the customers and what have you. So what happens? Whoever started the business, if they were smart enough, they made the money, probably they vacated or they are still in business, but they have actually supplemented that with something else, or both of them, they are in the business, they are not making appropriate money. And they're just there trying and striving the best they can to make sure that they make money out there. So what am I trying to bring here is that most of the Kenyan businesses is usually about copying each other. It's about, hey, you know what? Hey, I think I'm missing out. And by the way, these are kind of the points that I've actually outlined for you. Number one, you realize there's a Me Too thing. These guys are trying to do things just because they fear missing out and all those kind of things. Number two, you don't understand the business fully, but you just want to get into the business. And by the way, you can check my previous video I made about do not quit your job to start a business that you do not understand. Because at the end of the day, you not only lose your job, you also lose your money and you lose your business. So you kind of go into the ditch. So you better be careful on exactly that. The other thing is that you realize these guys are actually driven by greed. Because what I realize in Kenyan is that sometimes it's even hard to confuse or to differentiate between a greed or somebody who is, what we call driven by greed and jealousy, because those kind of go hand in hand. You find like, okay, fine, I do not know whether this guy didn't like you being thin, making that kind of a profit, so that can be jealousy, or you do not even know this guy has a very big urge of getting cash out of the business that you're doing, so that's why they want to get a piece of whatever you are doing, so that can be greedy. And the other thing is that you don't even understand whether these guys are just there to actually make money or just to get you out of the business. Sometimes you don't understand. But hey, welcome to Kenya. This is a capitalist nation. We don't mind about that. But so the question is this: before you actually get yourself into any business, be very careful, understand the business. Because let me just share this information. What I've realized in businesses, you find like somebody is into the business. Let's say they're selling, let's take an example of the hardware that I used before. You realize where these guys are actually getting these materials, what they are selling, it's not really a straightforward way, or it's not really a conventional place where you can just go, like an average person will go pick them and sell. They can have weird information, weird ways of actually maneuvering around and all those kind of things. So you get yourself, you do it in a very straight way, you do it in a very, conventional, predicted way, and in any way that a normal person will do it. And then you realize you're not getting the actual profit that they are getting. Number two, these guys have been in operation for the last 10, 15 years. You just got into the business because you love it, you're passionate about it. And then you're anticipating getting profit as they are getting. You see, there is a factor of time when it comes to business. There is a factor of time that you have to put into place. And therefore, here you are, you actually put some of the things that are not necessary. I have a friend of mine who did start a hotel business, or a restaurant business, should I call it. And this did actually really give the business most of the things that he thought business needed. For example, you have a lot of personnel on board, you have a lot of gadgets that actually you don't need when you're starting the business, rather than starting the vice versa. I always tell people it's good to start a business and then the business speak to you. Let the business dictate. Say you had a plan to start with like 2 personnel, and then in the middle the business tells you, hey, you know what? Whatever I am right now, I really can't work with 2. I need like 3. Then you add another one. Rather than you thinking that this business will need 4. And then you get into the business, then business tells you, no, there is a flock of personnel. I actually needed 2. So you actually had to go into the social aspect of life of firing some people. This is not only finance, but also is affecting people socially. So the problem is this: always learn to listen to the business. Listen to the business. Business usually communicates and tells you, I don't need this, I need this at this particular time, and all those kind of things. Anyway, the other thing is you find that these guys actually do what we call the fear of missing out. And this is what most of the worst thing that people actually make them lose money. I'll take an example of a WorldCoin that just ended some few days ago. You find like WorldCoin is, what do you call, enrolled, or started whatever the thing in Kenya, and here you are, you're like, hey, there is this flocking and a lot of people are getting into it, and you feel like, hey, I want to get a piece of this information, I want to get a piece of this investment, just because you fear of them missing out. And then in the process, and this is the thing that I always tell people: whenever you realize that everyone is thinking the same, then someone is not thinking. And one thing that you're supposed to know: crowd usually have the lowest IQ. That's the reality. So the point is this: always withdraw yourself, stand out of the multitude, and ask yourself, what am I doing? What are we doing? Is this the right thing to do? And if it's the right thing, then what qualifies it to be the right thing? Right now, as we speak, the price of the WorldCoin has actually been halved from what it used to be to half. Let's say somebody actually went there, and there were some guys who had some placards and saying, hey, we are buying WorldCoins cash here right now and what have you. Where are they now? But the point is this: I may be wrong. I may be wrong. Maybe sometimes it will, revive, kick back, and whatever they think. But the point is this: the data is gone. They have actually collected your data and all those kind of things. Probably where you are, you did eat all the 7K that they give, and there you are because you're just following some people. You don't know. Actually, I was watching some news from a very reputable station here in Kenya called The Citizen. It's actually the biggest, and they were saying some of them are complaining about eye problems. And anyway, guys, you can go check all those news and verify that. But that's what they said, okay? So the point is this: be very careful. Don't just copy paste anything and believe this is the best thing to do in terms of the business. And by the time you realize, you've actually messed up a lot of things. So stay put. Before you actually do anything in terms of investment, consider consulting, and also consider the reason as to why you're starting that business. Also consider what we call, finding out, whether that business and this guy who you actually, looking up to whether they're actually doing it in a very light way, and if they're doing so, then how much are they raking in, how much are you anticipating to getting, so that at least by the time you withdraw that money from the bank and go actualize that or execute that business, you already know what is waiting you out there. If I can just echo exactly what I've just said, recap what I've just said is this: most of the Kenyan businesses usually fail due to copying. Avoid copying. All right, avoid copying. Have a substantive reason as to why you're starting that business. Otherwise, if you keep on copying, you're gonna get yourself into problems. So avoid copying. Number 2, do the research. Number 3, make sure that you don't follow the multitude. Number 4, make sure that you do not apply this issue of fear of missing out and what have you. Be very wary and be very careful. Otherwise, if you continue with that character, you're gonna get yourself into problems and challenges out there. Anyway, you know what, guys? If you're looking forward into getting business ideas, investments, and all what have you, I do have myself already booklets about investments. If you go to the description of this specific video, you can grab my number there, and then you can give me a call or a text. I do have those booklets at 280. I also offer personal guidance, personal consultation on finance as well as investment. So you can grab that the same number, give me a call, and we can have a conversation. And by the way, do not forget to smash that like button. And by the way, I usually post a video each and every day talking about exactly that: how to make money, how to invest, how to save, and all those kind of things. Then if that's a cup of your coffee, and I bet it should be, then consider subscribing so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new good video. So for now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.